There are sections of scriptures that we are more familiar with than others. And there's some, like John 3:16, that we're familiar with it because we've heard it so many times. Now this passage in Philippians chapter 4, we should be familiar with it because we do the opposite of verse number 6 and pray for the presence of verse number 7. And so here's what the text says in Philippians chapter 4, verses 6 and 7. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all comprehension, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. One translation says, be concerned about nothing. Well, we know that we are going to be concerned about lots of things. Everything, maybe. I mean, concerned about what time we go to bed and how we brush our teeth, and we're concerned about what shoes we're going to wear. And so we are going to be concerned. But this text deals with worry and anxiety. And we live in a world filled with worry and anxiety. We live in a world filled with medication for worry and anxiety. And so we can drug it and alcohol it and just do all sorts of things to our worry and anxiety. And so here's my prescription for you today. Verse 6. Be anxious for nothing. You know, I believe that is kind of an all-inclusive word. We're going to get another one in just 3 more words. But there is that which we are to look at in our life, and our trust is so in the Lord that we won't be anxious for anything. I mean, this is Paul from prison writing to those who, that church where he was thrown into prison. And so here is Paul saying, I've learned this. And we'll get to that in a few more verses, dealing with contentment. But be anxious for nothing. The opposite, but in everything. Okay, so we know what to do with nothing, and now he tells us what to do with everything. And we have 3 things that we are to do. One of them is prayer. One of them is supplication. One of them is thanksgiving. And all of them are called requests. And the direction of all those requests at the end of the verse is make them known to God. Now, that means you tell God that. It doesn't mean he doesn't know and he's just waiting for you to tell me something new here. No, you make your requests known to God. And there are prayers for others. There are supplications for ourselves. And the neat part of it all is the way we're going to get away from anxiety is the third one. Is your heart filled with thanksgiving? Now, let's go back to those 2 words. Are we thankful for nothing, or are we thankful for everything? Now, I realize you might say, I'm not thankful for everything. I mean, if I get stung by a bee, I don't say, oh, I'm glad I got stung by that bee. Now, there might be some thanksgiving behind it. I mean, pain is all I can think of. You know, I go to the doctor and they're going to take blood from me, and they said, oh, you won't even feel this. This will just be like being stung by a bee. And that's not good. I don't want to be stung by a bee. And so we have these requests in 3 areas: prayer, supplication, thanksgiving, that we call prayer. And this is how we commune with God. And that's how we get over this anxiety, this worry. Now, in verse number 7, Paul tells us, and this is what God will do for you. This is what God will give to you. Peace. And that doesn't mean the absence of war, or the absence of fighting. I mean, those are nice. And it's nice when we have peace like that. But this said, God is going to give us peace. So what kind of peace can we get from God? The one who knows everything, the end from the beginning, the one who controls everything, the one who is with us in the midst of everything. That's the kind of peace we can get. And you're supposed to say to me, that doesn't make any sense. And I say to you, you're right, because it surpasses all comprehension. Now, I've gone on too long, so you jump in the verse and go on longer. But let me conclude with this. It guards your heart and your minds in Christ Jesus. It doesn't say guard your heart and your mind in the world. It just says in Christ Jesus. That's the kind of peace we can have from God to us, guarding us. I don't know if you want to be guarded. I don't know if you ever hear anything goes boom in the night and you say, what was that? And you think, oh, it's okay. My wife will take care of it. It'll be fine. Here is God guarding our hearts with which we love him, guarding our minds, which we set on things above, knowing that we can be anxious for nothing.